Testing. 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 Testing.
Check, 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 check. Check, check.
Test. Test. Two. Three.
This conference will now be recorded.
Good afternoon. The time is approached for us to begin the meeting, so I will call this meeting of the Technical Transportation Committee for Tippecanoe County to order. Our first item of business is approval of the minutes from our previous meeting. I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you for that. Are there any discussion or proceed with the vote? None. All in favor of approving the minutes from the last meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. It's unanimous. The minutes have been approved. Thank you. The next item of business is access permits from NDOT.
I am pretty sure NDOT did not get a list submitted for this meeting. At least I didn't get a copy in advance. So I think did we miss it this time, Tim, or have you? Okay. So we'll make sure we don't miss next time. Sorry about that.
All right. We'll keep it moving. We've got a number of items that we want to make some progress with today. So the next block on our agenda is amending the 24 through 28 TIP. We have some items to vote on, and Doug is going to present each one of those, and you can just walk through them in order, one after the other.
Okay, I will be more glad to do that. Thank you. Do you see on the agenda, we have 3 amendments that are being requested. The first one is in regards to the City of Lafayette's South 9th Street project. There are several parts to this project, or with this request and otherwise. One is that we have been requested to move the funding for construction of the Big 4 Trail that was allocated in FY 2027 to the South 9th Street project. And there are 2 reasons for that. One is that over the past few years, we have seen other local projects substantially increase in price, and unfortunately, the South 9th Street project has increased as well. So the city would like to use the funds allocated to construct the trail for the South 9th Street project. And then the city is also moving forward, and instead of looking at the Big 4 Trail, actually looking at addressing improvements on Poland Hill Road between Teal Road and Beck Lane. That became a higher priority. So now regarding the Big 4 Trail project that is in the TIP, since we are pulling the federal funds out of it, we will pull or move it to the information only section. So if the city desires to move that project forward again at a future time, we can actually then bring it back to the funded section. The second part is that since the project is significantly more in construction cost, it is being split into 2 phases. The first phase that will be going under construction in 26 is from just north of Ortman Lane to Veterans Memorial. And the second portion will be going from Brick and Wood to just north of Ortman Lane. So in the first phase, they're going to actually construct the intersection at Ortman Lane, reconstruct it. So, and then the third part is that along with this project, the county is going to be replacing the bridge, and then the city is also doing sanitary sewer work in this area. So in order to make sure all of these other projects worked hand in hand, they are being brought into this project. So that was a recommendation we had a few weeks ago from NDOT staff. So in the report, as you can see on the screen, we are now showing Phase 1 and all of the components, and then Phase 2 and its components. This will be what you will see in the tip if this amendment is approved. So we're asking your recommendation to the policy board to approve this amendment. Are there any questions or comments?
Okay. There appear to be no questions or comments, so we'll entertain a motion to accept this project into the tip.
Move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. I'll proceed with the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Great. Thank you very much. Going on to number 2, this request is from City Bus, and there are 2 parts to it. And the first part, just to let you know that because of all of the additional funding that transit systems received to COVID, they did not have to use or tap into their 2022 Section 530 federal funds. So now they are in the process of wanting to do that. So instead of allocating or obligating the funds, a part of it to operating assistance and the remaining amount to the various capital items shown in the tip, they would like to change that allocation. They would like to program it in basically 2 parts. The first part is operating assistance for their 23 and 24 program, and that would be roughly $3 million. And the remaining balance of just a pinch over $3 million would go to only one capital project, and that is specifically the capital preventive maintenance project. The second part to this request is the good news, the approval of a second low and no emission grant. There were only 2 approved in Indiana with this round, City Bus being one of them and Fort Wayne being the other. And their project that will use this fund is, of course, purchase additional hydrogen-fueled buses, additional facility equipment, tools, improve what they have for refueling, and then all of the additional things that go along with this. For example, training, grant management, and whatnot. And basically, I do have the information on the first page that shows what the tip will look like with the changes, and then on the second page, what it will look like with the additional information. City Bus was awarded $10,531,030, which is roughly $3 million more than their first grant. So congratulations. Any comments or questions?
As there appear to be no questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve this reallocation.
So moved.
Do we have a second? Thank you. Thank you. I'll proceed with the motion. The vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Great, thank you. And the third and final one is that when we received earlier this month the obligation reports from INDOT Central Office, we looked at their numbers and they were slightly different than what we show in the tip. Good news is that the numbers were adjusted upward, so we have a little bit more to spend, roughly $22,413, so not much. But anyway, you know, as our goal in pursuing obligating all of our federal funds, and this is just basically paperwork, we put out in the staff report a recommendation of how to allocate these funds. For the transportation alternative funds, carbon reduction funds, and protect funds, We are recommending that these additional funds go to the Morehouse Road Phase 2 project. For the STBG funds, we're recommending it go to the Soldiers Home Road project. And we are thinking that it would be good to go to Phase 1 right away. And then for the safety funds, of course, the one project, the emergency vehicle preemption. And again, I'd like to point out that we do have a balance of funds in the safety program that have not been allocated yet. But these are the additional funds. I mean, it's not much, and this is our recommendation. So any comments, questions, discussion, arm wrestling, thumb wrestling?
All right, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the allocation of these additional funds.
I'll move to approve the staff's recommendation.
Thank you. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you also. Let's proceed with the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The new additional allocation is approved.
Thank you.
And thank you. Well, next section on our agenda is the APC progress report, the MPO update in particular. And I believe, Doug, that brings you back up to the mic.
Actually, I'm going to have Ryan start us off.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
Good afternoon. So, we having a discussion with Mayor Easter and some of her staff not too long ago, maybe a week and a half ago or so, about a completely other subject. But we ended up getting on to the issue of Sagamore Parkway, Purdue Master Leasing, Paramount Apartments, basically all of them, and the extreme safety problems for this heavily pedestrianized facility that's not pedestrianized. It's very heavily used by pedestrians and bicyclists, transit riders, et cetera. And with Purdue Master Leasing things, it's just going to intensify the amount of folks, especially new folks to the community that are coming into the area. They don't know where they're going. They got their Domino's Pizza and they're making that break for it across Sagamore Parkway, potentially with disastrous results. And frankly, we're tired of crosses out in the middle of the interchange, or out in the middle of the intersection and in the medians. And recalling the Culver's employee who was killed a couple of years ago, walking to work. It's got to stop. This is just an intensifying, urbanizing area, but yet it's a rural ditch section highway. And the problems are just going to intensify, particularly because of Purdue's action. It was already intensifying. This sort of added a little bit of gas to the fire. I understand County Highway is trying to knit together a little sidewalk network within Paramount to at least get you to the intersection with Sagamore. So that's a great start. But really, it's the entire stretch, and roughly measured, it's almost 2 miles. But from Cumberland to Klondike really is the key corridor. Once you get to Cumberland, the city's trail picks up, and you're kind of adjacent to PRF's land, which has sidewalks and trails coming in. So there's points to connect to there. But then as you keep going west on Sagamore Parkway, it just falls apart. So our group is essentially trying to assemble every stakeholder there is. Like I said, about half the corridors in the county and half's in the city. So there's some cross-jurisdictional issues here. And we want to try to find a solution to try to accelerate this project of having some, reasonable pedestrian, bicycle facilities on both sides of the highway with crosswalks at major stoplight intersections. That's the bare minimum here. So to that end, we're trying to assemble stakeholders, pretty much have a definitive list together. I'd like to involve the business community as well, since they are also stakeholders, and I think it would be more than reasonable to draw them in, particularly Walmart, Cook Medical, Meyer, PEFQ, Doug just suggested to me. All of them have a stake in this, and to the extent that we can have these stakeholders, particularly Purdue, since they have added to this issue, be able to financially support this effort in some way, that might just help grease the wheels so that it's not all on County Highway, it's not all on the city, it's not all on NDOT, that there's some sharing for this since everyone has a stake in this. But if it's achieved, we will have really knitted together a very busy area to the 231 trail system and to what the city's doing within their limits in terms of getting trails to their new park on Cumberland. So it's a very worthy effort, and I just wanted to let you know what we're up to. And some of you will be reached out to directly to kind of join the team. And once we have some commitments from folks that are interested in trying to tackle this issue, Mayor Easter has offered to, City Hall facilities to meet and kind of kick off our discussions on where do we go from here. So, any questions? Otherwise, we'll be back, giving you periodic updates. Thank you.
Thank you. Doug, federal funding update?
Just a couple things to report with this spreadsheet. Of course, since we are brand new in the state fiscal year 2025, we have not actually obligated any of these funds yet. Just wanted to point out that the big thrust right now of getting funds obligated are our residual 2024 funds, and that's at the very bottom of the spreadsheet. As you see, we had some funding to the South 9th Street project and then some to the Soldiers Home Road project. Well, I have some good news to pass along is that we did obligate the funds to the Soldiers Home Road project. The board of Works passed a supplemental for engineering, and we asked for those funds, and we're good to go. Those are obligated. And then for the South 9th Street project, this amount will be split into two parts. One to right of way, and that is to actually purchase the additional land needed. We did make that request to NDOT for those funds, and that is in the process, so those are pretty much obligated. The second request is for additional preliminary engineering work, and this is needed because of the project being split into two and the additional work needed for that. That we hope to have submitted the request to obligate it by the end of this month. So good news regarding that. The other thing I'd like to point out, as I mentioned briefly before, is that we do have a balance of safety funds that have not been allocated yet. Now, a portion of these funds we can flex over to our STBG funding pot, which we can use for multiple different purposes, but some of it still needs to be used for safety. So we need to, sometime in the near future, start thinking about how we can obligate these funds, or at least allocate them. And then going on to the last part, the 18-month letting list. As you can see on the left-hand side, a lot of S's. All these projects are moving forward. Project number 15 dropped out or is not listed. So have not heard yet why, but it's basically looking at the roads within Veterans Home. But some good news is that the next project on the letting, it seems like we've had a dry spell recently. The next one is in October, and that's the new traffic signal at State Road 26 and McCarty Lane. And then we have a bunch in November, specifically one that I have been tracking personally is the truss reconstruction and repair on 225. And then we have two county projects, Bridge 527, and then also Phase 2 of Morehouse Road. So, and otherwise, looking at the projects, they are moving forward. Questions or comments?
Well, thank you for those updates. There appearing to be no questions. We'll just move on to the next item on our agenda is quarterly reports. Tim, you have the floor.
All right, thank you. I'd like to go ahead and start with Tippecanoe County's projects. So our first project is the North 9th Street Road Bridge. So I did just want to make a note on this project that no right-of-way is required, so per Stu. So thank you for that information, Stu. So other than that, we didn't have any specific comments about this project that we wanted to address, but Stu, do you have anything you want to add?
We're good.
Thank you. So then your next project is the River Road at 500 North project. So Stu has some notes in there about the final construction review and awaiting approval to submit the final estimate. So we will continue to monitor the POs for this project. We know it's essentially closed out. It's just right before the finish line. So we may see another couple reports for this one, but we know it's for all practical purposes.
Better not see another.
Moving on to the next project, so Morehouse Phase 1, there were some changes in cost on this that bumped it up a little bit. So we did note that. Additionally, we do know that the right-of-way for this project is actually all in Phase 2. There is no right-of-way in Phase 1. So that is why you see those $0 amounts there. Do you have anything you'd like to add about this project, Stu?
That's moving along at a slow start because of utilities, but the drainage is all in around the roundabout. We're on schedule to be finished by November. And on the 500 North and the McCutcheon, I did receive it on one or I thought both finals where the construction records were accepted, and so the final estimates went in and we got the little closeout letters.
Okay, great. So that's a little bit ahead of where we are in the reports, but we'll be getting that one eventually. So as Stu mentioned, I have that on the screen now. So he did receive some good news then about that. So will we be receiving one more quarterly report from McCutcheon, or will this be the last one?
This should be the last one. Okay.
All right, great. So going back to Morehouse Phase 2. So it looks like this project should be on track to let in November. Obviously, it was a little bit dependent on what happens with Phase 1, but as Stu just told us, Phase 1 is progressing pretty well, so I think it's fair to say, Stu, that at least as of right now, we're on track to start in November.
Yeah, we're on the letting list.
All right, that's some great news, thank you. Okay, going back to Jaeger. So the punch list is complete. Final construction record is in progress. So it sounds like this one maybe isn't quite as far along as McCutcheon.
Right, no. The construction record isn't approved yet, so we're probably,
So we might.
fingers crossed, we'll get it in before next report. But
So we might have one more report we'll have to see. Okay, very good. Still good news that things are moving along. Okay, so starting our bridge projects. So Bridge 64 and 65, I did note that both of these had a small change in the schedule. A lot of that, I think, was mostly just a little bit of housekeeping to align the reports with what's really happening in the process. Did you have any comments on either of these bridges, Stu?
no, they'll be on there for a while. They were moved out for funding.
Okay. So then our next bridge project is Bridge 527, which Doug mentioned in his letting list update. So there was, again, a small change in costs on this one. The project is on track for the November letting, and Stu did mention to us that the final tracings were submitted. So that was some good news. Anything you wanted to add about that one, Stu?
Nope.
Okay, so then our next bridge is bridge number 80, which is part of a bundle with bridge 83. There was an increase in costs on this, and Stu also noted that the milestone dates were adjusted to reflect the new letting date, so that's why you see some of those yellow highlights up there in the right of the spreadsheet. Any additional comments about that one?
Just pre-warn you that both of these, we're trying to disentangle them. There, one has gone through SHPO and stuff, and it's going to be a 106, which is going to add a year to the environmental. The consultant is still saying we could stay on track for the 26 letting, but if we have to disentangle them, we might try to do that. Just a warning.
We do appreciate that. Yeah, we know that that can add some time to the process.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, then Bridge 83, I suppose, would have the same comments that that may get split again because of the SHPO.
Right.
Okay. All right, then your last project, I guess, is the county bridge inspections. We did just note that some scheduling information was added into the report portal, so that's why those appeared there. They just hadn't been in there, but this project has been on schedule, so it's not necessarily something we're concerned about. Did you have anything you wanted to mention about the bridge inspection program?
They should be out. September's our compliance, September and October. We'll be out there annoying people.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Stu. All right, so that concludes the county's portion of this, so we will now move on to Lafayette. So the first couple projects, these South 9th Street projects, so there has been a little bit of movement on this. So earlier when we were talking about, when Doug was talking about the split and the phasing in this project, so that will impact just how these reports look in the future. These were filed before that split was really completed. So if you are to look at what we're going to get next time in the next cycle versus this cycle, it might look a little different. Some of the numbers might be different, but it's really all part of the same package. So we will continue to look for updates in that and monitor that. So Jeremy, I know there's been a lot going on with this project. Did you want to add any additional comments for the record?
No, only to say that that second one that says South 9th and Kasuth, that's the Big Four Trail project, that one's going to be closed, and then we'll now have a phase 2 for South 9th Street in its place.
Right. Okay, so that's probably going to be the last time we see that DES 23-01192.
Yes.
Okay, and then Lafayette's last project is the signalized intersection project, which is actually a joint project, but Lafayette submits the quarterly reports. So our question on this was, has there been an RFP submitted for this project?
Not yet, but that's high priority right now.
Do you have an estimate of when that might be submitted?
Within the next couple of weeks.
All right, got it. Thank you. Okay, so then moving on to West Lafayette. So the Soldiers Home Road project does have a couple of DES numbers in here, and there is a lot going on with this project. It's very hard to capture all of the constant changes through this small snapshot of the quarterly reports. So instead of trying to go through all of exactly what's happening, maybe let me just say in general that we do really appreciate not only West Lafayette staff, but also NDOT staff in helping us out with working through some of the scheduling challenges we have with this project. We know it's been some extra work for a lot of people, so we do really appreciate everyone's partnership on that. To kind of go a little bit into detail as to what's happening, you may notice that I have the environmental report complete date highlighted in red there. And the reason for that is that if the environmental report gets completed by that date, that is too late to obligate fiscal year 25 funds. And that means that potentially we would lose $250,000 that the city won't be able to put towards the right of way for this project. And so that is something we are looking at different options, potentially trading with another MPO, potentially trading with Group 4 funds with NDOT. So we're trying to figure out what happens if that environmental report cannot be accelerated. There have been a whole series of meetings trying to work through these issues, and there will continue to be some more meetings that we're involved in. So like I said, there's a lot going on, and we know that people are working on it as best they can. So I just did want to give West Lafayette an opportunity. Doris, if you'd like to add anything to my comments.
Nothing to add, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so like I said, this is something we're going to be continuing to work on to try to make sure that we don't lose our federal money. And hopefully we can find a way to get it back to West Lafayette in a future fiscal year. We are working on that. So then the same kind of comment goes for these next couple projects. It's all tied together, so I'm actually going to skip over those to our last one, which is the Sagamore Parkway Trail project. So we did get the final construction records were submitted by American Structure Point. I know that there are also some issues with the inspection for this project that are delaying some of the final closeout. So that's part of the reason why we're still getting quarterly reports for it, is because that process is taking some time. So we don't necessarily have any questions about that at this time. Just wanted to note that that's why we're still seeing reports for it. Do you have anything you wanted to add on this one, Doris?
No, thank you.
All right, so that is the last of the quarterly reports. Does anyone else have any comments or questions about anything we went over? I know there was kind of a lot in there, so I wanted to just open up the floor for one final opportunity for questions or comments from anyone.
Actually, Tim, I do have a question.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
So what happens with the final construction records? Does the city get to approve those, or? No.
You're talking about for the Sagamore Parkway project? Yeah. So they haven't, my understanding is that they haven't been approved yet. So there's still some time to work through some of those questions that you guys have. I am not the biggest expert on that process because we as the MPO are typically not involved in that. So I admit my information's a little bit secondhand. So I don't know, maybe someone else wants to speak to that who has a little more experience with this.
What's the question? The project is complete, right? You're just doing the final construction record? Or do you have pending change orders you want to make?
Not pending, perhaps pending change orders, but there's kind of one instance that's kind of surfaced that needs to be addressed. At the pedestrian bridge.
Bill?
So I don't know how to answer the question either, but I get the sense this is an area engineer, construction, NDOT area engineer type question in order to get the project closed out, since it's an LPA type project. So, and we may not have one right now. There may be acting. Jay Ritter is the construction director. I would start with Jay Ritter, NDOT construction director, and see if Jay can help you get to the right people if he's not the one to help you get your answers on closing out. Does that sound, Stu?
Yeah, if there's no change orders, if there's no changes you want to make, and your consultant has put it into construction record, there's no real input required from you. NDOT reviews, approves, they make a final payment to the contractor and close it. But if there's something you want to change, construction record's not the time to do it.
I don't know if it's records or punch lists. There may be something that still isn't complete. Yes?
Is that it?
Okay.
We shouldn't go to construction records until punch list is complete, though.
I believe that there's still things
Punch
outstanding.
list, so you're not in construction record yet, final.
Correct. I don't believe
Okay.
it's ready for
That
final.
makes sense.
Thank you.
Right.
Makes sense, right, Bill?
Yeah, so that's,
Yeah.
what I was trying to say is that that's why this has been lagging out, is because of this issue. So we'll just be seeing this in the quarterly reports for a while, but there aren't really going to be too many changes in the numbers. Just wanted to kind of note that for the record. Okay. All right, I believe that concludes our quarterly reports for this month. Thank you, everyone.
Right. Thank you, Tim. We've come to the other business section of our agenda, and actually we do have a couple of announcements in terms of faces changing on the committee. So I'll go in order of what I was first alerted to. So Doris, if you can
Hi.
tell us.
Doris Myers, City of West Lafayette, standing in for Natalia Bartos, City Engineer.
So, and she has been newly, since the last meeting, she's been newly
Oh, yes.
appointed.
Yes, she was sworn in on Tuesday as the City Engineer for
Okay.
West Lafayette.
Right.
Sorry, thank you.
Thank you.
No, Natalia will be back.
Okay, other announcement. It's coming from the gentleman next to me, Woody.
I'm retiring as a police officer here soon in 17 days. So I'm taking on a new role at the sheriff's office as a civil process server. So stress level here down to here is going to be wonderful. I should have told you guys you could have got me a cake or something, but you know, but Captain Rob Hangy should be coming to the meetings. I think I've been proxy for it now for like 5 years. So he'll be coming back. So
Right.
thank you.
Yes.
I look forward to it.
And thank you for your service on the committee. The next item is our slot for citizen comments. There appear to be none. So then that brings us to adjournment. I'll entertain a motion to, and second to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. I think that was unanimous anyway. So we are adjourned. One thing I will point out, the October meeting has been rescheduled to the 9th.